don't trust you. Come with me. Oh my gosh, it's finally happening. It's finally happening. We're cool, we're calm, we're collected. Hello everyone. As some of you may have seen in previous videos or perhaps on various social medias, friend Kirsty and I are hosting a read-a-thon in the month of November. It's called the Bloomin' Read-A-Thon and it starts on November 1st and ends at the end of that month. It's a whole month of reading and friendship and I'm so excited. We've been planning this for months and we can finally tell you all about it. Are you ready? Are you ready to read? Put on some comfy clothes, get a hot drink, let's get cozy, let's talk books. I'm gonna explain the bingo space, I'm gonna explain the read-a-thon, I'm gonna explain the whole thing, hash out the rules, hash out some inspiration, and then I have 24 books here that fit all 24 spaces of said bingo card to hopefully give you a better idea of what you can read yourself in the month of November. Are you ready? So, first things first, what is a read-a-thon? Thank you so much for asking. This might be your first read-a-thon. This might be the first time you've ever heard of such a thing. A read-a-thon is typically a timed, community-based reading activity, just where a bunch of people get together and try to read more than they usually do. So Kirsty and I are hosting the Bloomin' Read-A-Thon, which is a month-long reading event. It takes place in November and is centered around plants. The theme is plants. So the bingo card is plant-themed and then all the reading prompts come from said planty theme. Most read-a-thons tend to last a week, maybe a weekend, but this one, so that everyone can feel as much success as possible, lasts 31 days. We're really hoping with the extended time, everyone can feel more accomplished in their reading goals. There's that. This is gonna be the first time, but not the last time I say. You don't have to follow the rules. If you want, you can print out this bingo card. I printed out the bingo card. One second. Okay, I got it. If you want, you can print out your very own bingo card, and you can use this just to clear out your TBR until the end of the year. You can keep it and keep reading based on these themes until you fill out the whole card. You can read one book, you can read 25 books, you can do whatever you want. As long as you're reading, you're winning. So, however, the online activity and the reading will technically officially begin on November 1st. Yeah, the bingo card, it's just an outline. If you read a book for a space, you get a point, tick off that space, you can put a sticker on that space, you can color read it on Instagram, you can do whatever you want. Read a book that fits the prompt, get a point for said prompt. But it's just an outline. Do what you want. Just hang out and read with us. It's that simple. You can have books that count for multiple spaces. We'll get more into that in a little bit. But if you have a book that makes you happy but also makes you sad, get a point for the happy and the sad space. I opened up a Discord channel on the Pocket Pals Patreon Discord for the Bloomin' Read-A-Thon, and so many of you have been sharing your TBRs, which is so exciting. And some of you have narrowed down your TBRs to 4 books and have gotten a point for every single space. Do whatever you want. Okay, are you not sure what to read? Are any of these spaces unclear? That's okay, because Kirsty and I have made a Bloomin' Read-A-Thon inspiration highlight on both of our Instagrams where we've asked all of you questions for each space to then get inspiration for books you can read for each space. Kirsty also made a STORYGRAPH challenge, which I'll link down below, that outlines things and has other people's books on there. And also, I'm making a TBR video right now, and Kirsty will have a TBR video, which I will link down below as well. All sorts of things in the description box. Educate yourselves. If you still have questions, that's totally fine. The comment section is also open. Feel free to ask about whatever may be unclear. Now, without further ado, let's go through all the spaces on the Bloomin' Read-A-Thon bingo card. Here she is in all of her glory. Real quick, let's go through the first row, which is B, cloud, sun, moon, and tree. Space number 1, B. Now, the B space is specifically for a book that has a lot of buzz around it. A book that everyone is talking about, be it good or bad. Now, I know I'm a bit late to the party, but I've never read anything by Celeste Ng yet. So I thought a book that fits this space perfectly would be Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. But over the past year or so, everyone has been talking about Little Fires Everywhere and Everything I Never Told You by this author. This is about a family who adopts a Chinese American baby, family drama. Apparently it's really well written, so it's time. This fits the space. Next, the cloud space, which is pretty simple. Pick a book that'll make you emotional. I stacked these books like a buffoon. Please hold. So while you can definitely argue that every book in this stack fits this space, and perhaps it does, just for the sake of having one example per space, I chose A Place for Everything, My Mother, Autism, and Me by Anna Wilson. This is an autobiography about our author and her mother's late autism diagnosis. Apparently it covers what it means to care for your parents in their final years, and if that doesn't sound emotional, that's okay, we're all different, but I'm gonna feel a lot. Too much, in fact. Next, the sun space. This one's simple. It's for a happy book, which has been surprisingly difficult to find on my TBR shelf, because much like life itself, the happiness is only happier when you have the sadder moments to compare it to. So I really don't think I have an exclusively happy book. It's open to interpretation. So to prove that you can really do whatever you want when it comes to this read-a-thon, I chose How Not to Die by Michael Greger, because what's happier than dodging death? This is a plant-based nutrition book, and I've stuck in a few chapters here and there over the years, and it's proven to be quite interesting. You see how you can do whatever you want month, this November. Next, the moon space. This is a chance for you to read a book that takes place outside of the country that you currently live in, because we all sleep under the same moon. And so for this one I chose Breasts and Eggs by Miko Kawakami. This is meant to be a feminist portrait on womanhood in Japan. Next, this is the Tree of Wisdom space, and it's meant to be for a non-fiction read. I have quite a few of these on my TBR. I could honestly make an entire video on non-fiction reads. Let me know if you give half an ass about such a thing. So I just picked one at random that seemed pretty important, and that was Are Prisons Obsolete by Angela Davis. This is a short but I assume poignant commentary and dissection of the United States prison system. Light and easy reading. So that was the first row. Easy peasy living greasy. Up next is row number 2. First space is the daffodil space. This space is specifically for non-romantic love. So a book about friendship, maybe a book about strong sibling connections, found family, that type of thing. And for this I picked up Yoke by Mary H.K. Choi. This is apparently a funny and emotional story about two sisters who switch identities in order to commit insurance fraud to save one of the sisters' lives. Sign me the fuck up. Look at the little hands on the pages. Are you kidding me? What? That's the cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Stop it. But please continue. Next is the cacti space. Now, due to the low maintenance nature of cacti, this space is specifically for a shorter book or perhaps a collection of anthologies, short stories. And since I typically struggle with anthologies because I love to be immersed in a story and see it through, not continuously stop and start. That flow or lack thereof really takes me out of it. But that doesn't mean I dislike anthologies. It's just a personal challenge for me. But I decided to challenge myself with this space, and I picked up this book that's been sitting on my TBR forever. Tales of the Unexpected by Roald Dahl. I grew up reading everything that this man has ever written, from Matilda to the Witches, top to bottom, but I've never opened this one, and I've had it since 2017, so we'll see about it. Up next is the variegated space. A variegated plant is one that derives from its typical coloration and pattern. To pick a book that fits this space, you should find one that is on the rarer side. So this is sort of like the opposite of the buzzy bee space. Something that you wish had more buzz, something that you wish was less rare. So I picked up Mother for Dinner by Shalom Auslander. I've never heard anyone talk about this, and you know what? That makes sense, because it has less than 400 ratings on Goodreads. The title on the cover drew me in, I'm not gonna lie. But the blurb sold me, seeing as our protagonist is in a family of cannibal Americans, and so his mother's last dying wish to eat her was anything but unordinary. Is it good? I have no idea, but I accidentally picked up a signed copy, so that's exciting. Next, the propagation space is one that has been stirring up a lot of confusion, and I completely understand why. I'll get my propagation to explain. Okay, a propagation is a clipping from a mother plant that is then put in water to grow its own roots and become its own plant. A plant from a plant. So to find a book that fits this space, you're gonna find one that has an adaptation. For example, Fight Club, because it was a book by Chuck Palahniuk and is now a super popular movie. Or maybe Room, book then movie. Or Resident Evil, video game then movie, doesn't count. Bad example. But you get the gist. If there's a movie, if there's a video game, if there's a TV show, if there's any kind of anything that has been adapted from that original piece of fiction, or maybe even non-fiction, it fits the propagation adaptation space. So for this space, I picked a book that was on my October TBR and drug it into my November TBR, and that is Blindness by Jose Saramago. This is about a plague of white blindness that is sweeping the nation and is consequently leading people to be left at this abandoned mental asylum. So our protagonist then lies about being infected so then she can be the reader's eyes in this lawless and chaotic space. Am I intimidated by this book's grammatical choices? Yes. Is this one of Kirsty's favorite books? Yes. But is this an adaptation? Also yes. So it fits. Next is the spider space, which is very general and easy, and it's just a book that's dark, albeit dark themes. Maybe it's horror, maybe it's just literally in a dark space. I know I took the space a little too literally because I chose Things We Say in the Dark by Kirsty Logan. Yet another book that I saw at the bookshop, loved the cover, but then I read the first page and was instantly drawn in. Apparently this is a collection of short stories ranging from contemporary fairy tales to disturbing supernatural fiction. I couldn't tell you. I just really liked the writing on the first page. It just gave me that feeling, and so I trust it. Since these are short stories, this also fit, you guessed it, the cacti space. Could I get 2 points from reading this book? Yes. Could I probably mark more points off the bingo card for reading this? Yes. Do what you want. Row 3, baby! Space number 1, Lotus space. This is an opportunity for you to read a book featuring a disabled character, or perhaps is written by somebody with a disability, because lotuses grow through the mud, much like chronically ill and disabled people grow through adversity. The book I chose for this space is one of the books that I am the most excited for, and it is Unwell Women, Misdiagnosis and Myth in a Man-Made World by Eleanor Cleghorn. Holy gorgeous cover. Oh my gosh. But also, how important is this? If you didn't know, throughout history, most of the medical world has been based off of the male experience. From medication dosages, to vaccines, to how they diagnose people, to how illnesses manifest in people. Surprise, it's all centered around men. And so this book dissects that. All while written by a chronically ill woman herself. I am so ready to learn and become enraged while reading this one. Meaning meaning that it could also count for the next space, which is the succulent space, a book that makes you hot. Be it angry hot, sexy hot, literally hot, question mark? I know that's how I took it. Ding! Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson, which is about a woman who babysits her friends' kids who have the ability to spontaneously combust. I thought, seeing as this book is centered around fire and there's a literal flame on the cover, that this fits the succulent space. You can do what you want. Read what you want. Please. Just like any bingo card, the middle space is free, meaning you're already beginning with a point. Success from the very start. Up next is our white lily space. For this space, pick a book that covers the topic of death, has themes of grief, that type of thing. And this is the second book that I am so afraid to open, but I want to read it so bad, and that is Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. I love Japanese breakfast. I've heard nothing but wonderful things about this book. It's a strong family story. There's wonderful food imagery, but it's a nonfiction about Michelle's mother's cancer diagnosis, and I just feel like I'm too squishy right now, but I want to read it so bad. Next is the snail space, and much like snails in real life, this is a space for a book that's kind of a slow burner. It takes its time picking up. I know that STORYGRAPH will tell you if books are fast or slowly paced. You can also just Google, is this book slowly paced? But if you're not sure what to pick up, you can always join the Pocket Pages book club and read The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones with us. This is a psychological horror novel with political elements centered around the Native American experience. So if you'd like to boost the community aspect of this readathon, feel free to join the Patreon, link down below. Join the Discord, and let's get talking about books. We're reading this in November. We'd love to have you. 2 rows left, 4th row, baby. The first space in said row is the water space, and this is a chance for you to pick up a book from an author that you've been thirsty to read more of. Earlier this year, I read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong, and I've just been wanting to read anything and everything that he's ever written ever. So I picked up Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong. It's a collection of his poetry centered around romance, family, memory, grief, war, and melancholy. So honestly, this fits most of the spaces on the board. I'm so excited. Up next is the fertilizer space, and this is just for any book that you think will nourish your soul. Just read one that you think will hit deep, but also pick up the pieces and leave you feeling full. I'm sure most books on my TBR fit this, but there's one that fits the bill all too perfectly, and you'll see why. It is The Sound of a Wild Snail Eating by Elizabeth Tova Bailey. Stop. This is a nonfiction that shows the friendship that blossoms when our author falls ill and encounters a wild woodland snail. This sounds so simple and so heartwarming. I'm so excited. Up next is the Green Carnation space, and so this is a book for LGBTQ+ themes and or written by somebody in the community. The book I have for this space, I've been so excited for. So I'm pleased to announce that the book I'm reading for this is Stone Fruit by Lee Lai. This is a graphic novel that follows a queer couple and the time they spend with their 6-year-old niece. I can totally get behind this art style, and also it seems like such a good balance of hard to swallow themes and heartwarming moments. This is a strong contender for the fertilizer space. Whatever it is, I'm here for it. Up next is the tulip space, and this is the space for any book centered around romantic love. And if you're not a huge romance reader, you can also use this space for a book that you feel like in your heart of hearts you know you will love. An assumed 5-star. For this space I chose The Sweetest Remedy by Jane Egaro. This is about a woman who travels to Nigeria to attend a funeral for the father that she's never met. There's strong familial moments and obviously romance as well. Tulip space, the ladybug space. Ladybugs are so cute to me, but they are also a natural born enemy to your garden. So this space is specifically for a book that looks cute on the outside, but can just ruin your life on the inside, or at least your week. So for this I chose The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. I don't know too much about this one. It was brought to my attention in a philosophical reading recommendations video, and I took her word for it. The blurb claims that it's just about a woman and some dude, but people tend to either love or hate it, and it leaves a lot of people reflective afterwards. I'm not 100% sure what to expect, but something about this simple dog doodle doesn't seem to do the inside justice, so I think it fits for the ladybug space. Last row, we're on the 5th and final row. The root space is a chance for you to go back to your roots, revisit and reread that book that you've been meaning to for ages. And that book for me is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This is the book responsible for breaking my almost decade-long reading slump. It got me into corners of my imagination that I thought were dead. Could I really tell you what it was about? I don't know, magic and friendship, so it could be a daffodil book. I know grief is involved, it could be a lily book. I'm not 100%. It's time to revisit. The Earth space is a chance for you to read a book that was either published or takes place place majorly before the year 1990. For this space, I chose Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. This story follows our protagonist Betty Carpenter, who was born in a bathtub in 1954. This could also fit the Buzzy space, or the next space, which is the Ivy space, because everyone seems to be talking about it. It's been on my TBR for so long. I'm so excited for this one. Up next is the Ivy space, and you could argue that this one is pretty similar to the Buzzy space, but particularly it's for a highly rated book, something that's climbing its way up the charts, much like an ivy climbs up a wall. Oftentimes books that are highly rated are talked about. Do what you want. Do what you want. For this space, I picked Beautiful Country by Chan-Julie Wang. This is about a child living in poverty in the richest country in the world. It's a fairly new release, but still has 4.28 stars on Goodreads. Let's see if it lives up to the hype. It certainly sounds powerful. And the cover is so pretty. Tulip! Much like weeds in your garden, the dandelion space is a chance for you to get rid of that book that you just haven't been able to get off your TBR shelf for months, years maybe. I would say that this is one of the more challenging spaces because it forces you to read something that you've been putting off for whatever reason. For me, that book is Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. I've had this book on my shelf since I was 15 or 16. For some reason, never picked it up. I brought it to college with me, never picked it up. And then I left it behind to move to Belgium, and guess what Lawrence had on his shelf? It's been following me and haunting me, and for whatever reason, I've just never read it. It's allegedly the greatest anti-war book of all time. It's a classic, it's a short one, there's no excuse anymore. We're getting the weeds out of the garden. Time to read Slaughterhouse-Five. And last but not least is the mole space. This space is for a book that has a very strong antagonist, a very strong bad guy. And so for this space, I chose Little Miss P, The Second Day by Ken Koyama. Menstrual cycles are undoubtedly a very strong antagonist within the lives of people with the uterus. And this manga follows a plethora of people who are plagued by their period, and so it seems all perfect for the mole space in the Bloomin' TBR. And there you have it, the Bloomin' Read-A-Thon. It starts in 2 weeks. Are you ready? I am. Please share below what you'll be reading. Put it on Goodreads, put it on STORYGRAPH, put it on Instagram, join the Discord, shout off the mountaintops. And make sure when you do it, give it the hashtag BLOOMINRAT so that we can all see it. So many people have shared their TBRs with me, and it's just so exciting to be an influencer, but that influence is just to read books and go back to school. It's a superpower that I never thought I would wield, but I'm so glad I have it. We are so beyond excited. I hope you're excited. This is the first read-a-thon that Kirsty and I have hosted, and so if anything's unclear, feel free to reach out to either of us to get clarification on what you're confused about. I'll be linking Kirsty's TBR video in the description box below, and it's uploaded along with her socials, all that jazz. It's all down there. Take a look if you want. I hope you found some ideas and inspiration from this video and her video and the inspiration has on our Instagram. And as always, thank you for looking, thank you for caring, thank you for being nice, and happy reading. I'll see you in November. Bye! I'll be back before November though. Bye!